So, I was recently watching Nerdwriter's video essay on how not to adapt a movie, and it got me thinking, what other film did a horrible, detestable, horrific job of adapting a piece of animated work? Oh yeah, The Last Airbender. Okay, let's get into this. Now, I know there have already been video essays done on this topic, like how awful the cast was, how awful the pronunciations were.
So, are you the Avatar Ong?
How awful the acting was.
Leave him alone!
He was bending tiny stones at us from behind a tree. It really hurt.
Oh, I see.
How awful the bending was. How awful the battle sequences were. How awful this was. I think everyone can agree this was a terrible film, except for this guy. No, I don't want to talk about that stuff. What I want to talk about is something entirely different. Something that the film missed completely, and that is lessons. Avatar: The Last Airbender is a show about lessons, and how the characters in this world grow and mature from those lessons. When I think about what show I want my son to watch in 10 years, it's Avatar: The Last freaking Airbender. There are so many great and fantastic lessons to be learned from this show. I myself learned so much about life from this show when I was a kid growing up. But even though it's a children's show, I find myself being able to rewatch it as an adult and still enjoy it. Why is that? Well, it's because the show is freaking awesome, and it centers on life lessons. There are always lessons to be learned, and Avatar captures this perfectly. Ultimately, this was a show written for kids, but it doesn't treat kids like kids. It treats them like actual human beings with emotion and problems. It takes its time in breaking down complex situations, such as a son dealing with the abuse and neglect of a father, or a young kid trying to find his place in the world while dealing with enormous guilt. There are so many amazing little lessons in this show that it would be impossible to fit them all in this one little video essay. But if there's one thing I'd have liked to have seen in The Last Airbender, is the characters learning actual real-life lessons. And I want to examine one episode in particular, and that is The Blue Spirit, one of my favorite episodes. Now, M. Night Shyamalan decided to include this part of the show in his movie, but he didn't execute it the way he should have. Let's break it down. In the show, the episode can be broken down into 3 sections: the imprisonment, the escape, and the revelation. But let's focus on the revelation. In Shyamalan's The Last Airbender, the scene can be broken down the same way: the imprisonment, the escape, and the revelation. But this time around, there's no life lesson learned in the revelation part. Let's examine. In the show, Aang is confronted by a mysterious figure called the Blue Spirit. The audience is confused. Who is this mysterious character helping out our main protagonist? Is it an actual spirit or a human being? We don't know until this scene, right here. We get a glimpse of Zuko's face, and the audience is asking themselves, could that really be Zuko? Maybe not. The suspense is killing us, and then at last our protagonist removes the mask to reveal what we were all dying to know. But where do you go from here? Well, as an audience member, you're telling Aang to leave Zuko and save yourself because he's the enemy. But that's not what Aang does. He saves Zuko because he realizes that deep in his heart, he loves his enemies as well as his friends. He sees good in Zuko and believes in him. We even see him talking to Zuko in the forest, telling him how he used to have a friend that was from the Fire Nation.
We get in and out of so much trouble together. He was one of the best friends I ever had. And he was from the Fire Nation, just like you.
Even though Zuko fires at Aang, we see the lesson Aang has learned, that you never give up on anyone, even your enemies. In the movie, we don't see that at all. We don't see Aang faced with that critical decision. We just see a cut to the forest and we see Zuko just lying there unconscious. That's it. What a missed opportunity. We had no emotional connection to movie Aang because we don't see him face a real decision and struggle with that decision. And that's the biggest issue I see with this film. We don't see Aang learn real life lessons. And instead of showing the characters learning something from their mistakes, we're just given exposition as to why the characters are doing what they're doing.
The scroll we had was proving to be helpful. Aang was practicing, but for some reason, he was having trouble with waterbending.
And how could a movie create such great life lessons in an hour and 40 minutes? It just can't. So why did M. Night Shyamalan think that he could capture the spirit of the show by just giving us endless exposition and no real maturity? This might be hard to hear for some fans, but could it be that the show doesn't have the potential to become a successful film? Can all of these episodes with all of these great lessons be condensed in such a way that still captures the essence of the show? I have spent many hours planning out and scripting an Avatar film, and I gotta say, it's quite challenging. Granted, I would love to have a director prove me wrong someday, but as of right now, I'll stick with my gut. And my gut is telling me that this incredible show was presented in the intended medium, in stunning animation. You really want to know how not to adapt a popular TV show? Maybe you simply don't make one at all. Sometimes the greatest service you can do to a piece of art is to just leave it alone. Let it be what it is. An incredible children's show that teaches very real life lessons.